If you don't rosin your bow, nobody will hear you, and all your beautiful violin playing will only ever be in your head. Not exactly what we want. Today we're talking about how to rosin your bow, how much and how often to apply it, and some tips to help you when it's time to replace that bow hair. Rosin is a type of resin, which is a sticky substance that comes from trees, kind of like sap. But unlike the sap that makes your pancakes delicious, resin is often used for things like varnishes and glazes. For violin, we apply rosin to the bow hair so that when you draw your bow across the string, that sticky rosin helps produce friction. The friction helps your string vibrate to produce sound. To rosin your bow, you'll first want to make sure that your bow is tight enough that you're rosining just the hair and not accidentally the stick. You want it to be just tight enough that you can fit your pinky finger through the middle of the bow between the hair and the stick, or a small pencil. That's really as tight as you ever want your bow to be. So to rosin, we're going to start with quick, short strokes up and down the bow. You might want to put your thumb over here to protect the edge between the bow and the hair, just to make sure you don't knock the rosin against the hard part, because rosin is very brittle. It chips easily, which not only makes the rosin look kind of ugly, but it also will make it so uneven if you chip it a lot that it may make it a little bit more difficult to rosin your bow anyway. I do recommend using round rosin because you can move it back and forth, twisting it like this, back and forth, as you rosin your bow so that you use it up evenly. If you are using rectangular rosin like this, what you'll find is that as you rosin your bow, you'll create a deep groove in the rosin, and you'll never actually be able to use up all of the rosin because you'll never quite be able to get the sides. So finally, you'll finish with just some long strokes to even it out. You might find right after you apply rosin that you get a gritty sound or a little cloud of rosin as you play your first note. So you'll want to use several bow strokes on the violin to even it out and get rid of any clumps of rosin. Then take out your cleaning cloth and wipe the string to get rid of any rosin. If you've ever been playing and you had a note randomly squeak instead of playing the right note, it's often because there's a little buildup of rosin on the string, which you can just wipe off. You'll know you haven't used enough rosin if your bow still isn't producing much sound, and you'll know you've used too much rosin if you're producing clouds of rosin as you play, and it takes more than a second or two to wipe off the rosin. In terms of how often to rosin your bow, if you're playing every day for 30 minutes or less, you probably won't need to rosin your bow more than once or twice a week. If you're playing for an hour, 2 hours a day or more, you might find that you're rosining your bow every day or every other day, but you'll know because it's harder to produce the sound. You will need to get your bow rehaired every once in a while. Here are some ways to know that it's time to replace the hair on your bow. Eventually, you'll notice that your bow hair is getting thinner, or that it's coming off kind of like a receding hairline and you just don't have as much of it as you used to. That's when you know it's time to get a bow rehair. The other way you know is that your bow hair will get dirty over time. This happens especially around the frog. Even if you're practicing a lot, you probably won't need to rehair your bow more than maybe once a year. As an extra tip, ask for cake rosin when you get your bow rehaired. Some places will do this automatically without even asking you, and some places will ask you if you would like it. Basically what that is rosin in a very powdery form that adheres to your bow hair a lot more easily than the hardened rosin that we normally use at home. I would definitely say yes to this, unless you are a complete purist and you want to make sure that there's only one type of rosin on your bow. This will save you a lot of time and effort. It gives you maybe 60% of the way there, and then you finish with your rosin of choice. From there, you can be particular about keeping to just one type of rosin that you really like. I definitely recommend getting at least some type of higher end rosin because it's not that expensive, it makes a really big difference in your sound, and it lasts a long time. So don't just go with the cheapest rosin you can find. try out some different, nicer rosins. Personally, I really like Gustave Bernadel. It's a lighter rosin, so it's a little bit less sticky, and it produces a consistently even and bright sound. I've been using it most of my life and have seen lots of other professional violinists using the same one. Every violinist and violin is a little different, so if you're looking for a darker sound or your violin just responds better to it, you'll want to go with a darker, stickier rosin. So tell me which rosin you like best in the comments and how it helps you to share something beautiful.